Hello, I'm doing something a bit different today. My, okay, I'm just going to start by giving some description of what the hell you're looking at right now. My boyfriend set up a capture rig back in, like, Christmas, and I've been really tentative to play with this or kind of monkey with it for the past several months because I'm like, how do I work this? Or what the hell am I even going to do with this? Well, I'm just going to dive right in, and this is probably going to be very awkward since this is my first time working with a webcam or even trying to set something like this up, so bear with me. Pretty much what I'm going to be doing is doing a little bit of a sketchbook walkthrough, or more specifically, I filled this particular sketchbook with a bunch of OKKO junk. And I'm going to be going through that and describing, or kind of giving a description of each one, or just stuff like that. My future goal, or my eventual end game goal, is to get to the point where I'd be doing speed draws or even real time drawing or something like that. But I'd want to make sure it was something that capped under an hour or so, since, yeah, there's some things that take me longer, and I I know there's only so much novelty to watching something like that. I'm going to stop rambling and just get started here. This particular sketchbook, it's a Stillman and Byrne sketchbook. Really, really excited about that. Going to see if I can get this out of the shadowed area. So there's a logo printed on the back here. It's pretty robust, soft cover sketchbook. The paper can take a lot of abuse, e.g., it's weighted paper. You can. I haven't really tried any watercolor washes on this yet, so not quite sure how much of a watercolor wash that could hold. Actually, might just have to try that at some point. I'm hoping it'd hold up better than this other one I'm working on right now. This other one, I have gone nuts with watercolors and stuff. Like, if I pile on a bunch of layers and stuff, the paper starts buckling real bad. I'm still trying to get used to watercolors in general, and this is a sketchbook that I'm using specifically for watercolor stuff, so it's okay if the paper buckles. I digress. I'm already getting off track. That particular sketchbook is going to be for later on down the road, since I just barely got started on it. Trying the thing where I'm holding things back with an office clippy thing, since I've seen people do that to keep their watercolors intact. Gonna get back to this guy right here. I spent 10-20 minutes messing with this camera, trying to get the right angle for it. And I just screwed it up again. Okay, actually going to get to going through this and doing stuff now. There's a reason why I'm turning it this way. It's the only way I can show the entire page. It's the only thing I can show the entirety of what I'm working on. Okay, I'm going to flip this over. I forgot I flipped it over to show probably an embossed logo that nobody could see due to iffy webcam quality. Okay. Just to recap, I'm going to be doing or attempting a sketchbook walkthrough. And this is my really geeky fan art one. This one, it's halfway filled with OKKO junk. I've been working on this over the course of the past 3-4 months now, if not longer than that. Okay. Oh, shoot. Gah! Of course I managed to nudge that in just the right way. Okay. So, first couple of pages here, I originally started sketching something else, and it was going to be a still life of an apple. Decided to fill this up with some really corny scrapbook stickers instead, like the really motivational follow your dreams space-themed edition. At some point, I'm thinking about doing some kind of paper cutout of Rad from OKKO. Sort of not sure where I'm going to put him here in this mess yet. It may just stay the way it is, since, yeah, already really cluttered. Just, well, this. Okay. So this is the very first thing I drew in here. At at the time I got some new markers. I'm going to go ahead and pull those out. More specifically, I wanted to mess with how colored pencils and markers would play off of each other here. So, and just wanted to come up with something random. First thing I came up with was, hey, let's draw Ina doing something cool. And I'm really fond of the jacket sort of hanging off the shoulders thing. And I was thinking about, for some reason, I was thinking about that one scene in Gravity Falls where Dipper's surrounded by all those cans of pit cola, and how every other cartoon has this generic cola that the character's drinking for whatever reason. I don't know. I was just really in love with the idea of having blue and red bouncing off of each other. Like, how am I going to get these two things to complement each other? And just kind of came up with this. I don't really have anything special beyond wanted to draw Enid. Thought it'd be fun to put her in sort of a blue monochromatic thing and have one pop of color, and it'd be this can of pop. And pretty much covered up Coca-Cola symbol or whatever. If I would have had her holding it in a different way, I totally would have tried to cram the logo for that in there, since love Coca-Cola's logo design and stuff, and just this again, try to bear with me. Okay, I'm just gonna scoot this over. I'm just gonna scoot this over, since that's the most easy, immediate solution for this. It's pretty much another drawing of Enid, just from the back, and I don't know. The character comes across as somebody that wears sort of goth punk style clothes, so I was like, let's draw her in Converse boots. When I was in college, I had 2 or 3 different pairs of Converse boots. Wore them all the time. So that's probably partly running around in the back of my mind, as I consider that a staple or something that should be continued as part of the punk goth aesthetic. In regards to something like one of these, I think the blue one, this blue piece, took at least a couple of hours to draw, especially with all the shading, posing, erasing, rearranging stuff. This one probably around the same time frame. I don't really remember exactly. Part of the initial sketch probably took like it usually depends on how long it takes me to pose the character in the first place. If I have everything lined up the way I want it, probably takes like 5-10 minutes to get out a really rough sketch. The time-consuming part is adding in shading details, or going over it and tracing over the lines in marker and trying to clean it up and that kind of thing. In regards to the camera being upside down, I had tried, when I was monkeying with this earlier, trying to get it to, oh, hey, I guess that kind of fixes it. It just looks kind of funky perspective-wise. Like, it's kind of screwing with me looking at it from over here as I'm messing with things. And where I'm turning the page, what's going on, whatever. Oh, that's one of my swatches for some other thing I was working on. Okay, I think I got the general gist for these, so I'm gonna move on to the next page of stuff. Okay. I have a. So when this was definitely around the time I was first getting into OKKO stuff, and I was like, all the other pictures I've been drawing have been of the leads. It's just been the lead characters, like Rad, Enid, maybe a few KO. Let's throw in something weird. Let's throw in something different. Well, somebody in the fandom came up with this incredible crack shit. The Manly Cupid and Joe Cuppa. And I was like, this is genius. I am going to contribute to this. And that's pretty much what the entirety of this is. Like, trying to capture how awkward and fun it'd be for these two meeting for the first time. The best description I've seen for what their fan and interaction would be is Roger and Jessica Rabbit. The whole Cupid finds Cupid finds Joe appealing because I think he's funny. And just it'd be so odd to see. It's so odd thinking of these two as any kind of pair, whether it be an odd couple, platonic pair, and even more bizarre to have the idea of them striking it off romantically. And just I love the idea. I just fell in love with what kind of comedic potential you could have there, how strangely charming it could be, or what just what different things you could do with such a bizarre, eclectic idea. This one's pretty much them meeting, and this webcam captures just how obnoxiously bright pink that particular marker is. Like, I used a different marker for coloring in the background here, and then used a darker one to do the outlines, because hot pink was not going to go over the line work and show up the way I wanted. So I used a couple of different markers here. This one, I've always been a fan of kind of the Tex Avery hard eye kind of thing, like that kind of reaction. I do believe that there's a specific way to execute it and have it come across as funny, cute, charming, etc. Here, I don't know if I got the full impact of what I wanted. The drawing I had on the other page started showing through. Like, there's a couple stains here. Not sure if you guys can see them. So I ended up adding a whole bunch of other obnoxious stuff with a bright red marker to try and cover up the smears and smudges and keep things intact. And just, I just noticed in the crotch area you can really see where the other page is showing through. I was using you'll see what I drew on the other page here in a minute. But yeah, I was using a specific kind of marker, since I remember watching a Holly Brown video saying these you can pretty much draw on any kind of paper and it won't bleed through. I was using a different kind of marker on the other page, and that's why I had that pop up. This one I've been half tempted to rework or try to turn into some kind of shirt design. Still playing with that idea because it'd be freaking great. I don't know if it'd be a very well-selling shirt, but I just love the idea of having the option to have a Love-Struck Joe Cuppa on a shirt. And unfortunately, I don't think Cartoon Network or Ian Jones Cordy are ever going to field that idea, so I might as well make it. Might as well make my own custom Love-Struck Joe Cuppa Tex Avery shirt. Because this needs to be a thing. I think this needs to be a thing. I don't care what anyone says. Okay, moving on to the next couple of pages here. This one is where I had that stain showing through thing. I decided I was going to try out some of my Prismacolor markers, since if you color those or put those on a page, slap them down, they can blend with each other. That's what's fantastic about Prismacolor stuff in general. You can put it down, press down really hard, and then it can blend with a bunch of other stuff. I'm going to go ahead and pull out another example of a Prismacolor thing I have to. I'm probably not going to do a demo for this, but I want to show you just why I'm so in love with Prismacolor stuff in general and what led me to test these out on here. I'm pulling out a different sketchbook. I want to find something in particular. Okay, this big monster, probably going to be a while before I actually do any walkthroughs for this, but okay, the camera's probably going to be obscured for a second. Of course, I bumped it out of the way. Okay, this is one of my more recent projects, and background is watercolors, and the front is something I did in Prismacolor pencils and such. Like, I really love how bright and smooth the colors can get. I'm going to go ahead and shift this to show a different one too. This is another more recent one I did. Like, compared, just, I can put down a solid color with a Prismacolor pencil, like a skin tone or something, then color over the top of it with another one, and it blends in beautifully. The only caveat is this stuff is expensive, so I do not recommend getting these kinds of materials lightly. Like, there's a lot you can do with work with whatever kind of mediums you got, but just throwing that out there. Okay. Getting back to these, I was just thinking about noir detectives for some reason. This is more to test out the Prismacolor markers than anything else. Not all of it's Prismacolor. Went in with some gel pen to add a bit of a highlight there, but really sticking with the noir detective thing, since they were all really warm French grays kind of thing. And when you think of noir detective, you think of grayscale, the blinds, all the different shadows and shadow work you can play with on something like that. And when I first started doing this, I was like, I want each page to be a spread or a fairly consistent theme. So pretty much carried it over here and did another noir detective thing. And I like the idea of KO joining Rad on some kind of noir detective adventure, and they're wearing matching outfits or something like that. Been playing with the idea of trying to put together some kind of fan comic where they go on a noir detective adventure together and kind of poke fun at noir detective tropes and that kind of thing, like every other cartoon does. I think that'd be fun. Okay, need to refocus this. I managed to knock this around like at least 3 or 4 times within the past several minutes. Gah. Okay. Going to try and focus this a bit better. This was around the time that I started really getting into Rednid. Like, I originally shipped Rad and Enid, but then this one just started slowly creeping up on me, and it didn't help that my buddy SR was really into it. So I just kind of glommed onto it, and to be honest, I'd say it's probably my OTP for OKKO. Messing with camera since it looks really blurry. It looks really blurry. God. Yeah, this is gonna be an awkward trial run of this stuff. Just I'm gonna play with this over the next week or so to try to get the camera to focus a bit better. But in short, pretty much Rednid stuff. I like the idea of when I think of these two confessing or just admitting their feelings to each other for the first time, just going to be some kind of really awkward, touching display, like something. Just I need to do another mock-up of this. I need to do another take on this where it's under that stereotypical sakura blossom tree with the sakura blossoms blowing in the background and maybe some kind of glowy light source in the background. Just this one is pretty much just corny. Put a song quote over here in white gel pen and then do a bunch of corny popping hearts, because as I was working on this, I was like, let's try to do some kind of low-key, awkward graphic design element to make these a little bit stronger than just sketches, because I was hell-bent on posting these, and I didn't feel right about just posting 2-3 minute scrabbly sketches. And the song quote that I put over here, shoot, it's from a song called Teenage Fantasy by Cherokee. The group name is pretty deceptive. Not going to get into that, but if you do look up that particular song, I recommend looking up the remix or version where it says featuring Gibbs, Gibbz, because that one's a hell of a lot better than every other incarnation of the song floating around out there. It's just the epitome of bubbly, happy teenage romance. Like, the impression I get for what the song's about is two people rediscovering each other. They had some kind of thing in high school. They run into each other again and try to rekindle or respark their romance or something like that. It just captures the whole essence of a cheesy cornball high school romance for me. Okay, the quote I put here, I'm sorry, it's Sorry, it's unreadable. It says, "Do you think about it all the time?" That's one of the quotes from the song. What I'm going for here is, I I can imagine that Red and Enid, if anything is developing there, the show is going to take its sweet time developing or really rounding that out. It's going to take a while to develop, kind of fester, and probably be a background thing. I would be a very happy camper if it came to the forefront, but not going to get into too much of a discussion of that right now. Just it kind of referencing how long it's probably going to take and how the two probably think about each other in that kind of way, but are too awkward to go up to the other and say, "I like you," in that kind of way. Okay. I think I've spent enough time rambling on I when I talk to somebody else about these two that aren't really familiar with the show, I call them the ninja and the time traveling Power Ranger. Okay, this one's probably going to, holy crap. Okay, I need to move the camera again. Or more accurately, I just need to move this in such a way that okay. I just need to find a new position. Find a new position for all this junk. Okay, so this one right here, I was thinking, hey, KO, the protagonist of the show, hasn't popped up in the sketchbook yet. So what can I draw that'd be kind of interesting in here? Or more specifically, wanted to draw both KO and Dindy. On this side, going for the whole idea of Dindy has a little bit of that mad scientist thing going on. She's on the good guy side, but there's a little bit of ambiguity to some of her actions and morality and ethics on things, especially with that TKO episode, or one of the more recent ones anyway, where she was playing with it. I drew this long before that particular episode came out, but I am so glad that the webcam is dampening this, because in real life, this is bright, bright yellow, like eye-blinding yellow. Had to bring in some yellowish orange details with the pencil and stuff to calm down how it's just bright. I guess I was thinking of that classic Eureka moment, or yeah, it pretty much speaks for itself. This one over here, I definitely want to redo this one because I'm not too happy with all the texture elements I tried to add in, like all these little unnecessary bubbles. I was going for half-tone pattern, like the half-tone pattern you have in comics. It did not come out that way. I am not going to get that texture without some kind of special edition. It'd look a lot better if it were just these two in dialogue bubbles, but I digress. I thought it'd be a cute idea to have these two sort of gushing to each other about how awesome they think their parents are, like KO talking about how awesome his mom is present day and that she was the original Silver Spark, and then Denny going on about her own parents, which I'd say even though you have a world full of superheroes and stuff, there's really a lot of merit to having pairs like Dendy's parents show up, and even Enid's parents. Like, older couples that are still absolutely in love with each other. And of course, Enid's parents are a bit over the top. They have that kind of Addams Family vibe to them, where these two were a bit more laid back. I would be such a happy camper if there were an episode that brought Dendy's parents to the forefront and just kind of, like, maybe Dendy and KO were helping set up some kind of anniversary celebration or surprise for him or something like that. And just, I love that kind of thing in cartoons. I love when they can bring a happily married older couple out on screen, like the Diaz's on Star Versus. Just, I love that. And while I'm commenting on this, I also really like Carol's representation as a parent. Even though she is a single parent, she is a very strong, well-rounded, level-headed role model. And the way that they portray KO, he definitely has a lot of he's one of the stronger characters in regards to values and morality and stuff. Just, okay, long ramble short, I love how the show portrays or shows parents. I love the interpretation of most of the parents they've shown on screen so far. Okay, I'm gonna have to move this to turn the page. I had it kind of under this wooden shelf I have over here. Oh yeah, there is a single dating mom in Clarence. I need to watch more of that show. You've definitely sold me on it. Okay, this is where I stopped doing or keeping consistent themes over the course of both pages in here. Started drawing whatever came to mind since trying to move this. I'm not going to be able to show. I'm going to bring the camera up a little bit, see if that helps. Okay, it kind of does. Push this up a little. I have really mixed feelings about this one. It did not turn out the way I wanted it to. It really didn't. I was trying to do a take on that dumb joke or that dumb 4Kids reference in Pokemon where Brock pulls out a bunch of rice balls, and in the dub he calls them jelly donuts. And they do this over and over again. You're probably familiar with it. And Tindy's eating a rice ball, has a Pokeball keychain hanging off of her pinky finger. And then KO is digging into a jelly donut. She's looking at him with this whole expression like, jelly donut? Like really bad in-joke or reference. and instead, because it's black and white, the Papa Red, it looks like KO bit into something and has blood around his mouth, like he's a miniature vampire or something. That's not what I was going for. It's really not. This one, I don't know if I'm ever gonna redo it, but it needs redone. It needs redone badly, just because of that element right there. This one, geez, of course, there's a bunch of the pencils I use for this are Prismacolor sketchy pencils, and there's some of them where some of the residue from the other page ended up on the other page and just like, ugh. This one, I could see these two going to a diner or something and being that obnoxious duo where Rad orders French fries and puts them in his mouth like a walrus and just acts really obnoxious and just. And then KO's got the using French fries as a Wolverine claws thing going on there, and just I don't know. I just really wanted to do something else, sort of playing with the idea of these two having an older brother, younger brother kind of bond. That's one of the things I really love about this particular cartoon, how Rad is the older brother figure and just some of the hang-ups and stuff that comes with that. It's just freaking adorable. If there's anything else I need to add in here, it's what kind of father-son bonding vibe they're going for with Mr. Gar and KO as well. That's something else. That's another idea I really wanted to play with. But yeah, I want to draw that, and I want to draw more. I want to draw something specifically with Carol and KO. I haven't drawn anything like that in here. And that's a crime in and of itself, because that's one of the biggest selling points for this particular cartoon. That is something I will swear up and down is the cutest thing ever. Okay, gonna move on from this. So this is the very first time I drew Lord Boxman and the Boxmore bots. Kind of went with. I think this is more of I want to try out the brown pencil and marker. That's why I went with that particular shade, and just kind of came up with generic poses for Shannon, Raymond, and Daryl. Since this is the first time I was drawing them too, just kind of try. Okay, I've drawn Raymond one other time. I'm probably going to pull out that sketch in a little while, but I was drawing Shannon and Daryl for the first time, just trying to get a sense for how they scale or compare and scale to Boxman. I'm not really too pleased with how Shannon turned out here. Her head is a bit too big. But I think I was trying to squash everything to get it to fit on this particular format or page, this 8x10 format. Pretty much generic evil scheming box family thing. And then this one, yeah, this is around the time I started shipping Venomous and Boxman, and most fan art you find of these two, Boxman is the one that's really overly emotional and like looking at Venomous with the big puppy dog eyes or the shimmering eyes or whatever else. I wanted to be the weirdo that drew Venomous with the fun, stupid face, with heart-shaped irises and everything, biting his lips. The entire reason I drew this was because I wanted an excuse to draw Venomous with a stupid face. I plan on doing that again fairly soon, too, because this is very out of... I know this is incredibly out of character for Venomous, but I was hell-bent on drawing this. I was hell-bent on drawing this because Venomous with a ridiculous facial expression. Any excuse to draw that is good enough for me. and then just had to try the cross-eyed thing with Oxman because that just adds a little extra something. That and sticking his tongue out and just... But this is one of the ones I actually like how it turned out. I like how this turned out. I'm proud of it just because of this, just because of that stupid face. Oh, jeez. Okay. Moving on to this next page right here. It's been a long time since I really actively drew fan comics or attempted it before. Drawing this, like the last one-off comic page I drew was like back in 2014, 2015 before I attempted this. This was an art trade, or my part of an art trade with my buddy SR Nobody. It took me about 2 days to map this out and put in all the shading, details, everything, and get it to look at least halfway competent. Because I'm not a comic artist. I have a long way to go before reaching any kind of competency with that. But it's pretty much generic idea of, hey, it's pretty much red and flip. That's the best way to sum it up here. Like, a couple of details I want to note here. I guess Enid comes across as somebody that could really rock wearing a suit. I don't think I really got that across here, but it's an idea I'm hell-bent on figuring out how to get to work. She could pull it off. I think between her and Red, you could draw either one of them in a suit and they could pull it off. Just that kind of thing. But I was hell-bent on drawing that here because I'm one of those kinds of people that's like, I love the idea of women in suits. That's my thing. Hell, if you've looked at anything on my channel, I pretty much draw my own persona wearing a suit. That's pretty much what that particular design decision stems from here. That's pretty much the start and end of it. And the nightscape, that killed my black marker. It really did. And the stars are pretty much me horribly attempting to try and make something work with the gel pen. My approach was, as soon as I colored half this page with my black marker and killed my black marker, I was stabbing the page like with the gel pen. Just to clarify something else here, kind of looking at the comments. I did an art trade with SR Nobody. He came up with this awesome headcanon about Mr. Maheshwaran from Steven Universe and Greg, where Mr. Maheshwaran was a closet fan of Mr. Universe, collected all of his records and stuff, and he drew a one-off comic with them kind of discussing it. I told him if he drew that, I'd draw this. That's pretty much the start and end of that. I think SR also went on to make another one-off comic where it was sort of a quote-unquote prequel for what led to these particular events. I'm going to leave a link to both of those in the comments section below. Originally posted these on Tumblr and had more of a direct set of quote-unquote receipts or follow for how this came about, but I recently left Tumblr, not going into reasons for that, but yeah, moving on. Okay. Okay, this next page here is pretty much more follow-up for that particular comic. Like, okay, I really need to link SR's comic. Really need to do that. I'm going to do that after the fact, though, after I get through all the rambling and stuff here. The comic he made was pretty much Red asking Enid out and saying, hey, I found this restaurant. She asked her in the middle of a fight with Boxman's robots, and then Daryl's like, can we come? And Enid says, no. And I was trying to draw a situation where they followed him to the restaurant anyway. Like everyone did. The Boxmore bots and Rad and KO. And I definitely need to return to this and map it out to several more pages so it flows a lot better, because right here it doesn't really make much sense. It's just a bunch of really detailed thumbnails put together, like an outline of a potential idea rather than full execution of it. This is definitely something I want to come back to, because there's so much potential in the idea of the Boxmore kids sneaking into a restaurant, causing trouble, and my favorite part of this, I was hell-bent on getting Raymond's nose to peek up or poke up from some bushes. And then this last panel, like what they did to sneak in and try and disguise themselves from getting caught. Like Daryl's dressed up as a very classy woman. Raymond is a mariachi guy. Shannon, waiter, wearing the mustache because I thought that tidbit was funny. And Rad and KO are probably the only ones that took the most straightforward approach, like go in, make their own reservation, sit a couple of tables away, and just kind of spy on them. And then, of course, I had to put Dendy under the table, because you know she'd get involved with something like this. You know she'd randomly show up or pop up somewhere, because it just wouldn't be as fun if she didn't. Yeah, this is a skeleton of an idea, something I definitely want to come back to. And this other one, pretty much generic Raymond thing. I don't know. I just felt like drawing Raymond. I think he's funny. I think he's a very fun character, and I'm very disappointed he doesn't show up more often in the show. Because some of the stuff they do with him, like him crashing the prom in the Plaza Prom episode, the dance off with Rad, and then one of his intros involved him kind of posing like Venus. Just there's so much foppish, ridiculous potential with him. He's just so fun. I don't know. I was pretty much just going for a character-based sketch of Raymond. Like, what is something he'd do? What is something that's definitively Raymond? And came up with this perfume ad kind of thing, like kind of flowy font, him holding a rose. Raymond always has to have a rose somewhere, kind of giving. I don't really have any bigger story or idea for this. I was pretty much just looking for ways to fill up the sketchbook and decided to draw that. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot that I had that in here. Okay. Oh, great. Of course, the camera's blurry. You need to just stop fidgeting with this. I'm just gonna leave that alone. Shoot. That was just right. Okay. Okay. In short, pretty much tried to draw my persona in the OKKO style. I don't think it turned out very well. Or more specifically, this is more my take or derivative of drawing the OKKO style. I don't draw the four fingers. I don't really like drawing them in that chibi kind of squash format that the show goes for. It's my approximation of the show's style with a couple of stylistic differences and stuff. This is different from how I usually draw my persona, since other the few the few times I have drawn her went for more of a Soul Eater or anime-esque kind of aesthetic. Yeah, don't really have anything else to say about that other than sort of redesigning her and trying to draw in a different show style and just kind of mixed bag results. Yeah, I did not. And I put that piece of paper in between these two because the purple shavings and stuff were mushing over here and just okay. Okay, I can explain this. Oh, screw it. I might as well just come right out and I this is around the time I started saying I think Professor Venomous is attractive. He's my husbando. Like I thought it'd be freaking funny to draw him with the bedroom eyes and just I thought the idea was funny. And you have the bedroom eyes sensual seductive thing going on, like the slightly unbuttoned shirt and the kind of messy hair and the expression. And then I was hell bent on adding that Lord Byron skull cup. Like that was the detail I really wanted to add in there to throw people for a loop or throw a wrench into everything. Like trying to make the skull look a little bit more realistic to kind of throw people off or just kind of go like, oh, like really bring attention to it right away and have that really cheesy copy art thing going on with the heart and the foam and stuff and just I just had a lot of fun with this one. I had canon Venomous as kind of a literature buff or somebody who really enjoys reading literature and stuff. Like classical literature, HR or H.G. Wells, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, possibly a Lord Byron fan, that kind of thing. kind of bringing in a little bit of that influence here. I'd write him that way in fan fiction too. Yes, I was writing fan fiction for a little while. Kind of trailed off on that. I'm gonna come back to it and probably not gonna get into that right now though. But most of it was Boxman stuff. Most of it was pretty much Boxman fluff. I swear this is the last Venomous thing that I drew in here. I was kind of on a kick with that for a while, and whenever I draw the guy, if it wasn't just outright Boxman fluff, I was like, I want to add some kind of macabre or morbid twist here. I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but it probably stands out like a sore thumb. I was going for the idea of these two getting ready, like Venomous putting on his lab coat, the whole toast hanging out of the mouth idea. You see that all the time in anime. Put like this big golden waffle in the background, or the closest approximation I could get to it. And when it comes to Fink, one of my headcanons is she likes to go hunt for things. Like, even though she's an anthropomorphic mouse, I love the idea of her bringing things back for Venomous as a sign of affection or something like that. And let's just say, yes, that's a squirrel. I'm not going to describe anything more about this since I don't know what the hell I was going for. I I felt like drawing something twisted, morbid, and weird, trying to get something in the same vein as the whole human skull for coffee cup thing, but not quite hitting the mark, not quite getting there. It's more, why the hell did I draw this? I think I was a bit of a darker, morbid mood when I drew it. And have a completely contrasting thing on the other page right here. I drew Christmas presents for some of my buddies around Christmas time, and of course, of course, I drew these two for SR. The biggest incentive for drawing that though, or for drawing this though, was just drawing Enid with the whole hard eyes, love struck expression thing. Just that's the entire reason I wanted to draw this. Just love struck Enid. I don't know. The way they show her character on screen, how she comes across as a cool, laid back kind of character. That's another character that I'm toying with the idea of drawing with the most ridiculous, sort of exaggerated expressions I can get. Of course, the show's already done that. It does it all the time, but it it's just that kind of idea is so appealing with characters that are a bit more cool, stoic, serious. Like, one of the first things that comes to mind is, if you watch Star Versus, that scene in Storm the Castle where Toffee says, "Surprise!" It's hilarious. It's still one of my favorite scenes out of the entire show in regards to comedy, because he comes across as this incredibly serious, stoic character. He still does. He's incredibly intimidating and frightening, and then just having him change expression like that for just a second, it's fantastic. That's really what catches the viewer off guard and makes him go, "What just happened?" Okay, this is more of a ramble session. Okay. Before going any further with this, I don't think I'm going to be attempting the venomous and Fink thing again. Might at a later point in time, but definitely appreciate the critique on how to improve the pose and stuff. May keep that in mind. Definitely going to keep that in mind if I ever attempt to draw venomous and Fink in that kind of situation again, like where he's carrying her around and stuff. Like, yeah. This one, pretty much beach day stuff. I don't know. I was just really itching to draw red action in kind of a beach-like scenario. Like, I saw some ad where there was a gal wearing like this really cool-looking kind of striped blazer, and I was like, I could see Red wearing that. And my attempt at it, I'm not too happy with this, but the thing is, this is more of a cover-up or something, or space filler to cover up a comic that I was working on and wasn't too happy with and just couldn't erase. Like, this was drawn on Astro Bright red paper. This was more just to... I had this over there. I had this mocked up, and I was like, beach day, let's continue that theme over here. And just decided to draw with the gel pens and stuff on red paper, and that's pretty much it. Mixed feelings on this one. Really like this one. Definitely would come back to play with this particular idea, because obsessed with Rednit. I'm pretty sure that's the entire crux or part of this ramble. Obsessed with them. They're freaking adorable. Just more flustered Enid. I blame SR. I blame SR for how much I freaking love these two and how often I have drawn them over the past several months. Okay, I think this is coming up towards Okay, got a few more pages before I hit the point where I stopped in this particular sketchbook, so bear with me. Almost at the end of the ramble session here. Okay. I thought that was the end of the venomous stuff, but no, apparently not. Nope, I wasn't done yet. I'm going to go ahead and discuss this other section first. I kind of like the idea of kind of playing with the idea of like those photo booth setups, the snapshots that come out with generic, like there's four panels to a thing and couple stuff, and I don't know. I was playing more with the idea of stuff that you might find on somebody's desk, like really sweet memories or something like that, and wanted to draw something that was a little bit different from everything else I had in here, like something a little bit. And pretty much decided to draw Rad and Shannon. That's Rad likes robots. That got me shipping them. I was pretty much sold on their comedic potential from there. Like they hit that sweet spot between kind of sympathetic and just it was still out of left field when the episode came out. It was still out of left field to see them together, but they're if they were brought to the forefront again, the biggest reason why I'd buck for it is that more screen time for Shannon and more character development to her, more potential character development. That's pretty much the for this one. I kind of just I wanted to draw these two together doing cute couple stuff, and then draw another one where Rad's posing with Enid. That one, this part definitely need to redo it because the scaling between them is just yuck. It doesn't look right. I just blazed ahead anyway, since I was like, this is a sketch. If I'm not happy with how something turned out and I like the idea enough, I will come back to it later. Like, there's iterations of things I've worked on, like 2-3 years could go by and I'd come back and redo it again. That's kind of what frame of mind I was thinking of it in. Just decided to go ahead and finish it up anyway. And the venomous one is pretty much self-explanatory. The one thing I'm going to comment on here with the only thing I'm going to comment on here is I was thinking about all the ridiculous fan theories floating around with okay, trying to remember all the names here. Laser Blast is actually mysterious shadowy figure, and Venomous is mysterious shadowy figure, and just love the idea of he's evil now and he's purple, so he's going to eat grape suckers, and they're the outfit and the expression and stuff just kind of went along with that particular idea. I don't think I've ever drawn Venomous really in character. The thing is the closest one. That's the closest one. Everything else is kind of like he's a fashion model posing or shooting a saucy face at the camera because I'm like I like this character that way and I'm gonna draw him that way. It's kind of weird that that's my first approach to drawing him like that, though, because everybody in the Radiant Brother knows that my ultimate waifu is Lord Dominator from Wander Over Yonder. Haven't really drawn her like that. I can draw her in character, but I have yet to draw him in character. Gonna need to correct that at some point. Like, draw him doing something evil. Okay, this is more ship-tastic crap. Boxman fluff with really dusty, really messy stuff from the Prismacolor pencil. Thing about those kinds of pencils is that they're a little bit more easy to handle than charcoal, but they can be just as messy. Depends on what you're doing. It's kind of in between sketching pencil and charcoal. It's a pain in the ass to try to erase. Yeah, pretty much. Boxman right here, and then I'll be honest. I kind of low key ship Boxman with Dr. Plate. Not 100% on it. I just love the humor potential. Like, oh my god! I love the Captain Planet episode. I love it. Going to save that fan ramble for a different video though. Pretty much low key playing with the idea of, ooh, you could have a mad scientist OT3 here. No, I'm not going to go that far, but it was fun for a ridiculous one-off idea. And this is the last thing I've drawn in here, at least at this particular point in time. So you may see me pull out the sketchbook again at a later point in time when I've drawn more stuff. And it's probably going to be more ridiculous comics like this, since I'm trying to get more into that or get more of a feel for mapping those out. And just this isn't really showing up in the order it's supposed to, but looking at the screen, the one on the left, this is the perspective of the webcam is kind of screwing with me here, but the perspective on the left, that's the first page. This is the second page right here. This one-off comic is something I dubbed the Makeout Mobile, and I have it up on DeviantArt. It's pretty much playing with the idea of I want another excuse to draw Rad's van. That's one of my favorite things to try and draw. And someday I will get it right. Someday I will draw the vehicle correctly. I'm hell-bent on trying to figure out how to draw it correctly because I think there's so much humor potential or setting an atmosphere potential for it. But I digress. I just randomly started thinking about Dendy likes to sneak into his van all the time. And then it just kind of went a couple steps from there. I've had a couple of people ask me why Dendy was like the rest of this is people sneak into Rad's van and make out. That was the entire gist or premise of the comic. And then he gets kicked out by Boxman and Venomous after he catches them in the van at the end here. People have asked me why Dendy wasn't. She's like 10 or 11 years old, okay? And just it's funny enough that she sneaks into the van to do whatever she's doing in there already. That was just the launching off point or the springboard for the rest of this. Like, Rad discovering that Dendy isn't the only one that sneaks into his van, that there's other people that use it for their favorite makeout place. The entire premise is just other people sneak into Rad's van. I'm not going to go into a rant on the other thing, but just does finding Dendy in the van really have to have some other context or follow-up to it? It's just funny that she sneaks in there and spends any time in there at all. That's just me. But moving on, the other part of here, I couldn't just leave it off with Rad getting kicked out of his own van. I wanted to give this stupid one-off comic a happy ending, and yeah, decided Shannon sneaked into his van, and Rad finally gets to use the van for the purpose that everybody else has been using it for, and I don't know. Also, all the stuff I have going on in here, this is all fan stuff. Red and Enid kind of low-key confirmed, but they haven't really done anything. Mr. Gar and Carol are kind of hinted at, as are... I'd say Venomous and Boxman are in kind of a very ambiguous area. The only one of these pairs that's definitely canon, or has been canon, was Rad and Shannon at one point. Everything else is just fun fan content, like throwing my favorite pairs in there and thinking of or coming up with who would sneak in there to make out. I've been tempted to rework this particular premise or stretch it out and make it a bit longer and have it star Venomous and Boxman in particular, like have him sneaking out, like Boxman is determined to drag Venomous somewhere, and it just kind of leads up to Rad finding him in the van and ending it there. But I don't know. I kind of like this as a one-off thing. I think this is fine as is. Okay, looking at some of the comments and stuff, yeah, the show would never go this far. It would never go this far with showing pairs making out with each other. It'd be a kiss and that's it. But for the nature of this, it's funnier. It's funnier if it were a little bit more explicit than what the show would go for. That's pretty much the end of what I have in this particular sketchbook so far. There's so much left in it. Don't really have anything planned out for that quite yet. Probably not going to see this one come back out until like 3-4 more months from now. Okay, that's a very fair point. My stuff is pretty tame compared to oh my god. Now that you bring up the whole lollipop or sucker thing from OKKO. Best scene ever, and how freaking ridiculous that is. Just I have been so tempted to springboard off of that and draw something else. There's another comic idea I've kind of been tossing around, another thing that plays with the whole Venomous is mysterious figure and mysterious figure is a laser blast kind of thing. If that were the case, there'd be so much soap opera trauma with Carol KO and Venomous. As soon as that reveal came up, there'd be so much soap opera drama with that. And I kind of like playing with the idea of Carol discovering this and just poking fun at how melodramatic and over the top soap operas are. I think there's a little bit of potential in that. Okay, before I end this, I want to show one more thing. Okay, I'm bringing out this big ass sketchbook again. It's like 600 some pages, so it's going to be a while before there's any kind of walkthrough of this, and there's no way in hell I'd do an entire video going over this. It'd be split up into pieces. But the big reason I'm pulling this out right now is the first thing I drew in here. I don't think I'm going to get this to work. Okay, kind of. God, this camera doesn't want to cooperate with me. Okay. This is the very first time I drew Raymond. And this is originally, when I was first getting into the show and stuff, I originally planned on this being kind of a joke or prank on one of my buddies, shipping her character with Raymond. Decided against it for reasons I'm not going to get into here. But I was already halfway through this when I backed out on that particular idea. And I kind of liked where this was going. I liked how over the top and ridiculous it was. I have the flowing sakura petals here. Raymond has a rose in his mouth. You have the gal kind of defying gravity. And I don't think the post doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't actually work out, but I liked it anyway. I just liked how ridiculous it was and decided to roll with it. Just... This is my very first time drawing Raymond. Just... And the gal's pretty much mystery gal. You can pretend that you're self-insert OC or something like that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share. When I started writing fan fiction again, like OKKO fan fiction, I started with the reader self-insert X Raymond. Back in 2010, 2011, I would write parodies of reader insert stuff, make it as over the top as possible. Like one of them I wrote was based around the idea of you don't want to go on a date with this person and you're trying everything to get out of said date. I tried to my goal with that particular fic was to be as over the top and ridiculous as possible. Like it was not something I was seriously trying to make quality writing. I was trying to be as ridiculous as possible to get a grin or a chuckle out of people. I was surprised by just then after writing that, kind of took a crack at writing a few more legitimate attempts, I guess. But when it comes to reader insert stuff, I'm going to be brutally honest. If anyone ever asks, I'm more likely to take requests for writing that because I think it's freaking hilarious. But if I write for that, I'm lightly ribbing. I'm poking fun. I'm poking fun at the fact that that particular genre of fan fiction exists and it's a thing. It's lighthearted ribbing. I fully support people making self-insert OCs or fan characters or whatever else. I'm not against that. It's just okay, I am putting this away and looking at some of the looking at one of the comments here. Yes, I cringe at some of the fan art and fan fiction I made. And in regards to some of the pictures that I was showing up, yes, some of those could probably be considered, why did you draw this? This is cringy kind of concept. But you know what? I don't care. Some ideas have a much better solid grounding or interesting premise than others, and some are just ridiculously self-indulgent fan projects. Like all that venomous stuff, very self-indulgent on my part. Something to keep in mind when you look at fan projects or fan whatever else. I guess I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm one of those people that thinks, draw or write whatever the hell you want. Get the idea on paper. Just get it out there. Just everybody starts somewhere. Everybody starts somewhere. And even over the course of a professional's career, they're going to make a couple of questionable things every so often. Or like, people are going to wonder, why did you make XYZ? Everybody has a dud. Everybody has something kind of okay, I guess I was just getting up on the soapbox for whatever. Whatever. Most of the stuff I was drawing in there, I was drawing to kind of get a feel for my approach to drawing OKKO stuff. Most of it I consider a first draft. Some of it I drew over with markers and stuff. Excuse me. To kind of get that particular effect, just kind of play with the markers, see if I could pin that down. But yeah, a lot of that stuff I consider it a first draft. Definitely not completed work. The comics kind of in between because both of the ones I showed, 2 or 3 days of work 2-3 days of work outlining things, shading things. Those are the only exceptions. Everything else, I'd say that it's a first draft, and I'd probably tinker with it 2 or 3 times before really finalizing it. And what I mean by finalizing it is being okay with the idea of trying to sell it or put it on a t-shirt or put it in a portfolio or something like that. Of course, I wouldn't do that with fan art, but just presentation kind of thing. Alrighty, since all you're really looking at is this big ass closed sketchbook now, I think now is a good time to wrap things up and end right here. I'm going to play with this webcam a bit more, get it to just stay in one particular position, and find a more prime, opportune spot for eventually showing real-time drawing or even recording or attempting to record a couple of speed draws. I've been chickening out for the past several months. This is an attempt to get myself in that frame of mind that I can do this. I'm okay with showing people my art, even if it's crappy. Even if people see some crappy productions, it doesn't mean that I can't come back and take another crack at it and try again. Just building up the confidence to put that out there and just get started. Well, good night, everybody.